So second day of adding and subtracting polynomials. And all I want to do today is just get some practice adding and subtracting polynomials. So, so let's just start off right away with some problems. So directions are going to say find the sum. Sometimes they're just going to say simplify. Okay, so whatever directions you see it as. Part A, negative 7x squared plus 4x minus 3 plus x squared minus 12x plus 3. And remember, when you're adding or subtracting, you're just looking for like terms. Alright? So remember what it means to be a like term. X squared, x squared. Those are like terms. So negative 7 plus, there's that 1 in front there. Right? So negative 7x squared plus 1 gives us negative 6x squared. And then we have x to the first, x to the first. So I have 4x minus 12x. I was putting two lines under it. 4x minus 12x is negative 8x. Again, keeping in mind, I did not change the exponents. And then our constant, negative 3 plus 3. Well, the constant, negative 3 plus 3, they cancel out. Alright, so those two canceled each other out. So I'm left with no constant. Alright, I could put plus 0, but you guys know that's just kind of wasting your time. Alright, so there's the answer. Now, if you notice, we have a trinomial plus a trinomial. We're not always going to end up with another trinomial. We had a trinomial plus a trinomial, and I ended up with a binomial. Alright, so here's gonna be a few problems that I'm gonna want you guys to try. So I'll write them down and hit pause, you try them out. Alright, check to see if you got them right or not. 2x to the third plus 6x squared, so we have that binomial, plus 5x squared plus 3x minus 4. Alright, so you have that one. Part C. See what you guys can do with this one. X to the third. Y, that's one monomial, remember, plus 6x squared y squared plus 4x to the third y minus 8x squared y squared. Alright, so see what you can do with this one, and then one last one. Alright, and this one I'm going to run out a little bit of room. I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to have to stack them on top of each other. Negative 2x squared y to the fourth minus 7x y to the fifth plus 12 y to the sixth, that whole thing, plus 7x squared y to the fourth minus 3x y to the fifth minus 10y to the sixth. So you notice with D, I wrote it vertically. Okay, they're stacked on top of each other. And you'll notice if you look at every term, all the like terms are stacked on top of each other. Alright, so here's where I want you to hit pause and give it a try. Alright, so now Hopefully you've tried them and you were successful. So let's look through them real quick. Alright, let's run through these. So part B, I see x to the third. Well, as I look at this binomial, this trinomial over here, I'm not seeing any x to the thirds. So I have 2x to the third by itself. Now, x squared and an x squared. Alright, so we're just adding the numbers in front, the coefficients. So 6 plus 5 gives me 11x squared. Again, not changing the exponent. X to the first. In the first binomial, there is no x to the first. And then, you'll see there's a constant over here. In the first binomial, there are no constants. So we just, those two are just going to come along for the ride. Plus 3x minus 4. Alright, let's look at C. I have x to the third y. That's one whole term. Now I got to look over here. In this is a binomial. Is there an x to the third y? Yes, there is. Right here. X to the third, y to the first. So let's combine those. There's 1 there. There's 4 there. How many do I have altogether? I have 5. X to the third, y. Alright? Now, x squared, y squared. Look over here in this other one. X squared, y squared. Alright, so I'm combining those two. Focusing in on that positive 6 and that negative 8. So 6 minus 8, there's negative 2 x squares, y squares. With D, it was because I ran out of room, but it's nice to see these lined up. X squared, y to the fourth, x squared, y to the fourth. So I'm adding straight down. Negative 2 plus 7, there's 5 x squares, y to the fourths. X to the first, y to the fifth, x to the first, y to the fifth. Add straight down, negative 7, negative 3. Well, keep in mind, if I spend $7 and I spend $3 more, I've spent $10. And then x, y to the fifth. Again, not changing the exponent. Not changing the exponent at all. And then I have, oh, sorry about that. I have y to the sixth, y to the sixth. 12 minus 10 plus 2 y to the sixth. Right? And in this case, I'm not worried about standard form, but this is written in standard form. When you write something in standard form that has multiple variables, we always look at the first variable, right? X then y. Right? X comes first alphabetically. So this one had 2 exponents. This one only had 1. So this x squared comes before that x to the first. The y's don't matter. Okay? So, but on a quiz or a test, I would not be worried about that. All right. Alright, so now, example 2. Here's what I want to find the difference. Difference just means to subtract. Alright? So for part A, 3y squared plus 8, that binomial, minus 6y squared plus 4y minus 2. Now I want you to hit pause. You do this problem. Alright? And then we'll do it together. Alright. Out of curiosity, I'm curious, how many of you guys got negative 3y squared plus 4y plus 6? Because if you got that answer is wrong. Alright? This is what happens when we try subtracting polynomials. Okay? So that answer is wrong. So I want to show you guys what you're going to do in order to get the correct answer. The thing that we need to do is you need to change this subtraction to addition. So you notice now I'm changing the subtraction to addition, and you have to change all the signs that follow. You're starting at this parenthesis and you're going to finish at that parenthesis. Alright? So you start at one parenthesis, you finish at the other parenthesis. So this 6y squared was positive, now it's negative. This 4y was positive, now it's going to be negative. This negative 2 was negative, now we're going to change it to positive. Alright? Now we add y squared, y squared. So 3 minus 6, negative 3y squared. And I bet you're saying, but it looks the same. But wait. Now, in this first polynomial, right, this first binomial, there's no y to the first term, but I have a y to the first term there. So minus 4y, and now my constant 8 plus 2 plus 10. So you can see, so here's the wrong answer again. Here was the wrong answer. Negative 3y squared plus 4y plus 6. Right? So you can see you'll start off correctly, but then, because most students will notice, oh, minus that 6, and they'll be okay there, but then they'll forget about doing taking care of everything else. Alright? So just keep in mind that answer is wrong. A lot of students will start thinking about, can I just distribute a negative 1? There you go. That's all you're really doing, is you're just distributing a negative 1. Okay? So you're distributing a negative 1. Alright, let's try another one. 12t squared plus 5t minus 7 minus negative 4t squared plus 3t minus 1. Now in this case, I want to do the vertical method, because some of you guys still might like that method better. So I just recopy the first term, polynomial. Alright, so I'm just copying the first one, and then I'm saying minus, put that parenthesis, negative 4t squared plus 3t minus 1. Now you can think about distributing a negative 1, or we just say, let's change the subtraction to addition and change all the signs. So this 4t squared was negative, becomes positive. This 3t was positive, it is now negative. This 1 was negative, now it's positive. And then we're going to add straight down. Right? Because t squared, so we add straight down. 12 plus 4, 16 t squared. 5 minus 3 plus 2t, negative 7 plus 1 minus 6. Alright? Let's try one more. See how you guys like this one. This is one that I want you guys to pause. I want you to hit the pause button and give it a try yourself. It's a kind of a long, ugly one, and I don't care which way you do it. I don't care if you do it vertically or horizontally. And 5y to the third. Alright, so here's a long, ugly problem. You try it yourself. Combine all your like terms, do what you got to do. Don't forget about changing the signs. Alright, so you go. Alright, so I'm going to take care of this problem horizontally the way it is. Out of a little bit laziness, alright, so I don't have to rewrite it. But change the subtraction to addition. Change all these signs. Change all those signs. That was positive. Change it to a negative. This one was positive also. It is now negative. Alright. So I'm looking for the biggest x value. Looking for the biggest x value. Well, I have an x squared there. And I come over here to this other one. And I notice I have an x to the third. Alright, so I'm going to have to write down this x to the third first. It's positive, so x to the third. And now, checking for like terms again. X squared, y to the first. X squared, y to the first. Alright, so I have negative one of those, positive one of those. Alright, so negative one, positive one, well, they cancel each other out. Alright, so we move on. Now I'm seeing x to the first, y squared, x to the first, y squared. So, let me 3 lines under that one, 3 lines under that one because they're the same. So I have 7 there, minus 3, 7 minus 3, 4x y squared, and then simply y to the third, y to the third. Alright, so I have 2 minus 5, negative 3, y to the third. Alright, so I hope you were successful with that one. Alright, so now, word problems. You may not have to write down every single word here, but write down the important things. Alright, you and a buddy, you're throwing a rock. You have rocks. You are 200 feet high, and you're looking at this polynomial, negative 16t squared minus 40t plus 200, and your friend is 120 feet above the ground, and he's dropping a rock. You threw yours, he's dropping it. Now his polynomial is represented by negative 16t squared plus 120, and what those two polynomials represent is the height of the rocks after a certain, and t represents time in seconds. Alright, so for part A, write a polynomial that represents the distance between the two rocks after t seconds. Well, how do we represent distance between two things? If I have something here and something there, and I'm trying to find the distance between these two things, couldn't I just subtract? Alright, so I could subtract. So which one am I writing first? Well, let's start with the one where you're higher off the ground. Negative 16t squared minus 40t plus 200, because you were 200 feet above ground. And we're going to say minus negative 16t squared plus 120. Alright? So that's how you're finding the distance between the two. Here's you, and here's your buddy. Alright? And we're going to find the distance between the two rocks after a certain amount of time. Alright, let's take care of the subtraction. Change the signs. Change those signs. Negative 16t squared plus 16t squared. Yep, you guessed it. They cancel each other out. Then I have negative 40t. But in the second polynomial, there is no t. So I'm just left with negative 40t. And then finally, you're 200 feet off the ground. Your buddy is 120 feet off the ground. Well, how far apart are you two? You are 80 feet apart. Alright, so that's the formula, or that's the polynomial that represents the distance between the two rocks. Now here's where it starts to get a little interesting. Interpret the coefficients. Alright, we want to interpret the coefficients of the polynomial from part A. So what does the 80 represent? Remember what they said. Remember what they said. They said you were 200 feet off the ground. Your buddy was 120 feet off the ground. So what would the 80 represent? The 80 represents the distance between the two rocks at the beginning. Alright, so it represents the distance of the two rocks at the beginning. I don't think I spelled it correctly, but you get the idea. Alright, that's the beginning, the distance of the two rocks at the beginning. Alright, before you threw it, before your buddy dropped it. Then, what about this negative 40t? What is that negative 40, well, without the t. What is that negative 40 representing? Right, because they just said coefficients, so we're not worried about the variable. Alright, hopefully you're thinking about this. And that negative 40 means every second that the rocks fall, alright, every second the rocks fall or are out of your hands, that, you know, every second the rocks are in the air, they get, I don't want English teachers being mad at me, put a comma, they, meaning the rocks, get 40 feet closer to each other. Alright? And just to show you what that means, let's say t equals 0. Alright? At t equals 0, remember our formula, or not the formula, but the polynomial, negative 40t plus 80. Alright? So let's look at this and see what this means. Yep, sorry, too far. Let's see what this means. So when t is 0, that's right before you let the rocks go or throwing it, negative 40 times 0 plus 80. Well, that goes away. We're just left with 80. So the rocks are 80 feet apart. And we already talked about that. What about when t is 1 second? Right? What about when t is 1 second? So I have negative 40 t plus 80. So negative 40 times 1 plus 80. And this is straight calculator problem at this point, but I'm just writing out all the steps for you. Negative 40 plus 80. Now the rocks are 40 feet apart. So 1 second later, they're 40 feet apart. What about at 2 seconds? T equals 2. So negative 40 times t plus 80. Negative 40 times 2. You know, there's my 2 seconds. Negative 80 plus 80. Cancel the other out. So 0 feet apart. Well, what in the world does that mean? 0 feet apart. That means that the rocks are right next to each other, the same height off the ground. They could be both hitting the ground, or they can just both be at the same height. We don't know. But they're side by side. Alright? Well, I hope that helped a little bit.